We had started having some building issues, I guess, with the old building, just some things, especially with the basement, that we were not going to be able to fix.
Well, my predecessor, Brother Dennis Smith, led the church to a certain level, and realizing they were going to grow and they needed to make some space. When he left, it kind of went on the back burner for a little while, but then we finally realized that the old building was not safe, and we were getting crowded, and so at that point we decided we needed to go ahead and build a new sanctuary.
The building was old. It had problems, and the basement had already been closed because of termite damage and water damage, and the balcony was closed because of structural problems, and the roof had a structural problem. And in other words, the building was at a point where it was, we were not only outgrowing the building, but the building itself was in a pretty poor condition to even think about redoing it.
Well, of course, one of the obvious things was we had a space problem, seating everyone.
On a good Sunday, it could get crowded, really.
The balcony would be full and the lower floor would be full.
Every time it rained, a big rain, we had to get water out of the basement, and that's where our Sunday school classes were, children's classes were. And also, the walls were beginning to deteriorate, and we were really actually afraid that someone was going to get hurt in the building.
It just seemed like that God was blessing us in growth, and
You didn't know where to put them.
nowhere else to put the people right.
We were all dreaming about building this new worship center. And when we got the educational buildings built and paid for, we elected a building committee in December of 1992. And then as they began to meet and so forth, they said, we've got to have some way to raise the money to pay for this building. So in 1995, November 1995, we started a building fund, and we're trying to figure out how to raise the money. And we came up with a plan, a process, and we called it Dream to Reality. And we, in less than 6 months after we started that program, raising money, we broke ground to build this building.
Everything just seemed to fall into place, and even though there were decisions that had to be made, but everything just seemed to go so smoothly. I don't recall any of our building committee meetings, whether it was the building itself or even the interior part of the building committee, but we had an interior committee too that picked out the things for the inside, furniture and the colors and everything. And even though there were so many different decisions that we made, everything was bathed in prayer. And it just seemed to all come together. One of the biggest things I remember, we knew we wanted more space between the pews, because in the old sanctuary, you just about sat in people's laps if you wanted to get into the center of the row. And so that was one of the biggest things I think that we talked about.
Coming over here, everything just seemed to be so much better. It was tremendous just moving into the building.
I remember the day before we came in and cleaned up, and I can remember Lynn Ingram playing on the piano, and I just cried the whole time. I was out in the lobby scrubbing the tile, and I'd just be crying, even though it had been a long time in coming and there was a lot of work. It really had gone smoothly.
The main thing that I remember about that day was the opening of the cornerstone. As long as I'd been here, I hadn't really paid much attention to the cornerstone being there. But when we opened the cornerstone and found all the things that was in there, and of course we've got them framed out on the wall out there, which I think it was something that was a blessing to everybody to see where it came from and all, and we've had it for years, and I think that's for the old people to have enjoyed, and our new generation like yourself and others can relate to the history of the church.
The most special thing that I remember is the walk over from the other church. We all came over as a church family, like a pilgrimage over to this sanctuary. And that was so special to me.
I remember thinking the layout, of course, of our worship center here, how much closer we seemed to be. Even I, from my back pew, seemed much closer to the platform where the speakers were and the choir and so forth. That was very different for me, and I liked that.
Yeah.
Brother Glenn said the only thing he had to say about the new sanctuary was to the semicircle thing, and I've heard members all through the years say that there's not a bad place to sit in our sanctuary because of the way it's built.
One thing I'm glad that they did when we moved over, we had all these beautiful stained glass windows, and they moved them from the old building over here. They had to buy some additional windows, but I was glad to see that they kept those old windows. They were very pretty.
Where there were a lot of memories.
Memories, I guess, a lot of memories that went with those windows over there. So that was a real effort to get them relocated over here to be sure that they were part of this building. And I think that was the part of the old worship center that we moved over here, and it wasn't as if we were completely separating ourselves from the old worship center. With the stained glass windows, part of it came with us.
A big thing for me was the choir. When we were in the old building, our choir room was downstairs in the basement. We would have to walk up these steep set of stairs, 2 sets, to get to the choir loft. And now, of course, in the new building, we have our choir room right off to the side. It's large, and then we just walk up a few steps and we're in our new choir loft with a lot of more seating. So that was a wonderful thing.
Well, we'd been in Summerall for about 8 months, and we knew that we were going to want to find us a church home.
I remember that first day we were surprised. The church we were at was much smaller, and there was one room for children, and we got here, we're like, oh my goodness, there's a room just for 1-year-olds. And it was people who loved and doted on our child and took care of her and just loved on her in a way that just we weren't quite expecting.
We were in the middle of getting our foster care license, hoping to adopt, and we knew we needed to be closer to home so that our children would be more involved in church. And we visited here and basically never looked back. Yeah. I mean, we didn't visit another church. We just felt so at home here.
I've seen God move in how we've grown along with our community, and we've developed programs that cater to the families that are moving into the communities, as well as the ones who this has always been their home.
When I became a member of this church, we only had the old building over on the corner of that block, and that was all we had. And the Lord blessed us, and we were able to add more Sunday school space, build 2 or 3 more buildings.
One thing that I've seen since I grew up in the church and being in the old church, the brick building, is our Sunday school. We started off with one couples class upstairs in the balcony, and we'd creak up the stairs and it'd creak up there while we'd all sit. And Miss Joanne Berger was our teacher, our first teacher there. So we were all up there, and then as they built the educational building, we spread out and had different classes. But God blessed us when He gave us this sanctuary, and we have like now 9 co-ed classes and a lot of different women classes and men classes you can go to.
Our children's program has just grown tremendously. And I've seen a lot of young people come through this church and be saved because of what they've been exposed to in this church by the people.
I always look forward to all the Christmas events, the Christmas cantata, the children's Christmas programs, the Christmas Eve service. I love that time of year and always look forward to those services. The sanctuary is always decorated so pretty.
Well, for me, I think it's VBS, the last service, because that's probably the building fills up. And it's very exciting. And we have the space for it. The stage is laid out right for it, everything. This building just adapts itself to that type of worship time.
The Christmas Eve service
Oh, yeah.
is probably one of my favorites because the kids can come in their pajamas if you want them to, and the families all come and they sit together, and it's just a real sweet service. I love the Christmas Eve service.
I am always partial to baby dedication. I love to see families bring their children, and we all get to pray for them and pray over them and dedicate ourselves to helping, nurture them in a Christian environment and pray over them. I just enjoy that.
For me, and I've only been involved with it a few years now, but D now, to see this church, all the students in here throughout the weekend on D now, and then that Sunday morning whenever they come, bring all their families, and we're shoulder to shoulder, and you couldn't pack another person in this building. That's amazing to me.
I think coming into the sanctuary, we just feel like it's a great location for us to worship with our fellow believers, people who share our same core values and beliefs, and it gives us the opportunity to worship our Savior unashamedly.
But we were like a lot of people. We had attachments to the old building.
Yeah.
Both our daughters got married in that building. I was saved and baptized in that building. Of course, the new building, our son was first couple married. He and Candace were the first couple married in this building. So it's all special, and the Lord has really blessed us.
I think the most difficult thing was seeing the old building torn down. That was because Richie was baptized in that building. We were married in that building. Our children were dedicated in that building. Richie
I got ordained
as a deacon in that building. So there were a lot of memories over there. I couldn't even come over. I couldn't come down the road when they were tearing it down. Richie came over.
Well, I was on the property committee at that time. Me and Mr. Frankie, I never forget. Me and him was there when they first put the track hoe into the roof. I'll never forget it. But one good thing about before we did that, and I don't know how, we had other churches in our area that came and got some of our pews that needed pews. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Frankie probably can remember. I think we even gave the baptistry to a church. I'm pretty sure we did that. So it wasn't like we just demolished everything. We did use and let some people use some of the stuff out of the Oak Sanctuary. Even some of the wood floors, they came in and got some of the wood floors out of it. That was a sad day. I agree with Nita. It was tough to see that happen.
I'm appreciative of. We have, as having been here for 40 plus years, we had one of our kids to be married in the old worship center, and one to be married in this one, and that will always hold special memories for me, of course.
The most wonderful thing about this church is the people. Everybody here, you can just feel the love from everybody here.
We've just thought, especially with the 20th year anniversary coming up, how much God has blessed our church with the growth, and we were able to pay the building off fairly quickly, and then began the Family Life Center because of that.
I'm very thankful that we have this church, and I'm thankful for the staff we have. We have leadership in lots of areas now, and so that's good.
I'm thankful we've had an awful lot of growth in the church in numbers and in giving, and we've been able to accomplish a great deal in this community, I think.
We are just so blessed to be here. We're blessed to be in a place where we can worship without fear, without shame, and not only can we do that, and not only does this sanctuary provide that, but we've got the most incredible staff that we could ask for.
When you come to church here, there's something for everybody. There's a place for you to serve. You're wanted. Your children will be active and have so many opportunities no matter what their age. There's just something for everybody.
Our church just makes you, if you're coming as a visitor, they just make you feel so at home when you walk in. I came from a small church, and when me and Nita were dating, when I started visiting our church, and I knew everybody that came here anyway, but it just makes you feel at home when you walk in.
Let me just say in closing, God has blessed our church tremendously in all of our building programs, but this one especially, tremendously, God, and we want to give him full credit for it. Give him the glory, absolutely.